What do you think? See? There's good stuff,
No,
right?
no, there's not.
Cameron!
Well, he clearly gets his sarcasm from me. No clue where the hype comes from.
Brandi Passante has spent years in the spotlight, but the attention she gained came with consequences. As her popularity grew, so did the scrutiny, online harassment, relentless rumors, and constant public judgment turned parts of her private life into a public spectacle. Behind the confident television persona was a woman facing challenges few viewers ever saw. So what really happened to Brandi Passante? And what was going on behind the scenes when the cameras stopped rolling? Join us as we reveal the untold tragedies that Brandi Passante from Storage Wars has endured over the years. The death that exposed hidden secrets. On April 22, 2026, heartbreaking news shook the Storage Wars community. Daryl Sheets, one of the show's original cast members, took his own life at the age of 67. Daryl had spent years building a reputation as one of the most memorable buyers on the series, becoming famous for his fearless bids and major storage locker discoveries. He had also worked alongside Brandi Passante since the show's earliest seasons, making him one of the familiar faces who had been part of her Storage Wars journey for more than a decade. The most shocking detail about his death was the confirmation that it was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The news spread quickly across entertainment media and among fans of the show, leaving people in disbelief. Many of the original Storage Wars cast members responded publicly after the announcement, sharing memories and messages about their time working with him. However, Renee Nizoda, another long-running cast member, stated that Daryl had been experiencing cyberbullying in the weeks leading up to his death. He also urged authorities to investigate the situation further. Local police confirmed that the reports of cyberbullying were part of an active investigation connected to the case. Brandi Passante also reacted publicly. She posted a message on Instagram expressing grief over his passing and offering condolences to his family. In her message, she shared something deeply personal that had not been widely known before. She revealed that she had previously lost both a parent and a brother to similar circumstances. The statement added a new layer of weight to her response, connecting the loss of Daryl Sheets to earlier experiences in her own family life that had not been publicly discussed in detail. Her post also included a message directed toward people struggling with emotional pain. I would like to say to everyone, if you are struggling, if you feel hopeless, or like no one cares, I assure you they do. You are not alone, she said. The fact that he had reportedly been seen in public earlier that day and appeared to be in good condition didn't sit right with fans. How could a man who seemed so happy take his own life? And why did the authorities do nothing when he reported the cyberbullying? These questions remain unanswered. For Brandi Passante, this hit close to home. Beyond losing a parent and a brother to Daryl's similar circumstances, she had also gone through her own painful experience with online harassment when her name became linked to a disturbing internet scandal. The cyberbullying storm. At the time Brandi Passante was recovering from the shocking news of Daryl's death, she had already faced a different kind of conflict years earlier, one that did not involve television cameras or reality show schedules. It involved the internet. In the early 2010s, Hunter Moore became known online for running a website called isanyoneup.com. The site was widely reported for posting explicit images of individuals without their consent, often paired with names and personal details. It became part of a broader wave of early internet cases involving non-consensual image sharing and digital harassment. Brandi Passante's name surfaced in connection with the site when explicit material allegedly linked to her identity began circulating. She was notified by people who had seen the content and recognized her name being used online. The material was not something she had created or shared. It was presented on a platform she had no control over, placing her identity in a public space she did not choose. She responded by taking legal action. Brandi filed a civil lawsuit against Hunter Moore, seeking damages of approximately $2.5 million. The case centered on the unauthorized use of her identity and the distribution of explicit content tied to her name. The case moved through the court system, where the issue was reviewed under civil law. A judge ruled in her favor based on the complaint, ordering the removal of material connected to her identity from the platform. However, the financial outcome of the case did not match the amount initially sought. The court awarded Brandi $750 in damages. The ruling drew attention because of the contrast between the nature of the claim and the final monetary award. Meanwhile, Brandi's case was moving through civil court, and federal authorities were building a separate investigation into Hunter Moore's broader activities. That investigation involved multiple victims and focused on computer-related offenses and identity misuse. In 2014, Hunter Moore was arrested by the FBI. He later faced federal charges, including conspiracy, unauthorized access to a protected computer, and aggravated identity theft. His case did not center on a single individual, but on a wider pattern of activity linked to his website. He received a 30-month prison sentence and was ordered to pay a fine and serve supervised release after completing his term. For Brandi, the case remained a separate chapter in her life, disconnected from her television career and unrelated to her role on Storage Wars. After the case ended, she returned to her public life on television. It stood on its own as a legal dispute tied to identity, consent, and the early years of online content abuse cases. But the online scandal was not the end of it. As her fame grew, Brandi found herself facing even more unwanted attention, including harassment, threats, and fears for her family's safety. The dark side of Storage Wars fame. As Storage Wars grew into a hit television series, Brandi Passante's public visibility increased far beyond what she had experienced before. What began as a business built on buying and reselling abandoned storage units turned into national recognition. With that recognition came attention that extended far outside television. Some of that attention became difficult to manage in everyday life. As her profile grew, Brandi moved her family into a gated, guarded community for safety. The decision came after repeated concerns about unwanted contact and privacy issues connected to her growing fame. Daily routines changed. Simple tasks like going out in public required more caution than before. She later described a period where leaving the house did not feel safe in the same way it once did. At the same time, she began seeking therapy to manage the stress and anxiety that came with increased public attention. The pressure of being visible on television every week, while also dealing with personal responsibilities at home, created a constant sense of exposure. The attention was not limited to public recognition alone. Over time, she also received unwanted, scary messages and contact from strangers. Some of these messages included threats, which affected her sense of security and raised concern for her children. Brandi kept most of these experiences private while continuing her work on Storage Wars. On screen, she remained in the role audiences were familiar with. Off-screen, her daily life became more controlled and more guarded. Nevertheless, she continued appearing on Storage Wars as the show moved through multiple seasons. Over time, Storage Wars itself began to change as cast members came and went. Some original cast members reduced their involvement or left the series entirely, while Brandi remained one of the few consistent presences across multiple seasons. That same visibility, which had helped build her career, continued to shape her daily life in ways that required ongoing adjustments. But even while dealing with harassment and constant pressure from fame, Brandi was also fighting another battle at home, one that came in the form of ongoing struggles that affected both her and her family. The health struggles. While Brandi Passante was dealing with public attention and legal issues outside her home, another set of challenges was unfolding in her family life. These were not connected to fame or television. They were personal health struggles involving her children and her own condition. Brandi has 2 children, a daughter named Peyton and a son named Cameron, from her relationship with Daryl Sheets. Her daughter Peyton was born deaf. From an early age, she required medical care and support to manage her condition. As she grew older, she underwent surgery at around 6 years old to address part of her hearing condition. The process involved medical intervention and recovery time, with Brandi present throughout the treatment and care stages. Her son Cameron also faced a serious medical condition while still young. He was diagnosed with a urological disorder that required surgery. Following the procedure, he spent approximately 3 months in the hospital recovering. The situation placed long-term responsibility on Brandi as the primary caregiver during his treatment and recovery period. Alongside her children's health challenges, Brandi was also managing her own condition. She has been diagnosed with Hashimoto's disease, an autoimmune disorder that affects the thyroid gland. The condition can influence energy levels and physical well-being and is known for long-term management rather than a single treatment. Brandi has publicly discussed the condition and confirmed that it contributed to changes in her voice, including a more raspy tone that viewers noticed during her television appearances. The condition remained part of her life while she continued filming Storage Wars and raising her children. These health challenges were not isolated events. They occurred while she was balancing work commitments on television with parenting responsibilities at home. Filming schedules, public appearances, and business obligations continued during the same period her family was dealing with medical care and recovery. It was a lot for her to carry. There were times when hospital stays and recovery periods overlapped with her professional responsibilities. She managed both roles at once, moving between filming environments and medical settings as needed. Her children's conditions also required ongoing attention rather than one-time treatment. This meant follow-ups, monitoring, and continued care over time. Throughout all of this, she remained active on Storage Wars as the series continued over multiple seasons. Her role on the show did not pause during her family's medical situations, and she continued to appear on screen while managing responsibilities at home. However, while she was managing health-related responsibilities within her family, another chapter of her life was unfolding elsewhere. The one thing that was supposed to give her stability began to fall apart as her long-term relationship quietly came to an end. The breakup nobody knew about. For years, viewers saw Brandi Passante and Daryl Sheets as one of the most recognizable couples on Storage Wars. They appeared together at auctions, argued over bids, celebrated big finds, and built a business side by side. To the audience, they looked like a team that had been together forever. Behind the scenes, however, their relationship was already coming to an end. Brandi and Daryl met long before they became television personalities. The two met after Brandi came in to work at the carpet cleaning company, where he served as the sales manager. Although it would be inappropriate for Daryl to make romantic advances towards a co-worker, he was persistent, and the two eventually started dating. They stayed together, working as partners in the professional field as well. While Daryl was prone to taking risks and lacked business sense, Brandi more than makes up for it, complementing him perfectly. Together, they built a resale business and later became cast members on Storage Wars when the series premiered in 2010. As the show's popularity grew, so did their public profile. They became known as the young guns of the series, and were eventually given their own spin-off, Brandi and Jared. Married to the Job in 2014. The series followed the couple as they balanced work, family life, and the demands of running a business. Although the spin-off lasted only one season, it further cemented the image that many viewers already had of them. They were seen as partners in every sense of the word, and that image remained intact for years. However, what viewers did not know was that the relationship eventually reached a breaking point. Brandi and Jared quietly separated in 2018 after nearly 2 decades together. Despite the split, no official statement or public announcement was made at the time. Instead, life continued as usual in the public eye. While the relationship had ended, both remained connected to the same television show that had made them famous. As Storage Wars continued filming, viewers were left with the impression that nothing had changed. For nearly 3 years, the separation remained largely unknown to the public. The truth finally became impossible to ignore when Storage Wars returned for its 13th season in 2021. During the season premiere, Brandi openly revealed that she and Jared were no longer together. It was the first time many fans had heard anything about the breakup. Brandi explained that she had been on her own for some time and was entering a new chapter of her life. Jared also acknowledged the split, making it clear the relationship had already ended long before viewers learned about it. The change was immediately noticeable on screen. For years, they had attended auctions as a pair. Now they appeared separately, bidding against each other instead of working together. The familiar dynamic that had defined much of their television career was gone. The separation also marked the end of one of the longest-running relationships associated with Storage Wars. By that point, millions of viewers had spent more than a decade watching them build businesses, raise a family, and navigate the ups and downs of reality television. Yet the breakup itself had happened almost entirely out of public view. As fans adjusted to the news, they were left with questions about what actually led to the end of a relationship that had lasted nearly 2 decades. Did things fall apart slowly over time? Or was there one moment that changed everything? And just when it seemed the separation was already heavy enough, another incident during that same relationship pushed things even further, leading to a situation that brought real danger into her life and changed everything that followed. The bar incident. The breakup between Brandi Passante and Daryl Sheets had only just begun to surface publicly when another incident brought their names back into the spotlight. It happened on April 30th, 2021, in Orange County, California. Brandi was at a bar with friends that evening, spending time away from work and filming. Jared arrived later. What started as a shared public space quickly turned into a confrontation between the two. According to the police report, an argument broke out after Jared entered the bar. Witnesses stated that Brandi asked him to leave. He refused. The situation escalated inside the venue. The report later stated that Jared allegedly pushed Brandi more than once during the exchange. The incident took place in front of other patrons and staff, who then contacted authorities. By the time officers arrived at the scene, Jared had already left the location. Police documented statements from those present and began an investigation. In the days that followed, Jared was questioned by law enforcement about the events that took place inside the bar. Jared denied making physical contact. He stated that no assault occurred during the argument. Despite his denial, the Orange County District Attorney's Office later filed a misdemeanor domestic violence battery charge against him. The case moved forward based on the statements gathered during the investigation. Brandi did not make immediate public statements after the incident. The news surfaced through media reports and police records before it became a wider public discussion. The incident put both of their names back in the headlines, this time under circumstances far removed from their work on Storage Wars. 6 months later, Brandi suggested in an Instagram post that the pushes from Jared at the bar were not the first time she had been the victim of domestic violence perpetrated by Jared. "I managed to escape a very difficult situation that so many people fall victim to," Brandi wrote. "I will be eternally grateful for the life and freedom, without fear, that I get to live now." However, Jared continued to deny the allegations as the case developed. He later left Storage Wars after season 13 and stepped away from the show's ongoing production cycle. The legal process surrounding the charge proceeded in court, though details of its final resolution were not widely publicized as the initial incident had been. Brandi, on the other hand, remained connected to Storage Wars during this period. She continued to appear in new episodes as filming resumed. However, the bar incident became one of the most widely reported moments in their post-relationship timeline, drawing attention not only for who was involved, but also for unfolding in public, outside the controlled environment of television production. Do you think we've heard the full story of Brandi Passante's struggles? Or are there still painful chapters of her life that the public knows nothing about? And do you think her time on Storage Wars protected her life or exposed her to pressures she never should have had to face? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.